with Dr. Ninja Turtle. Oh, I forgot to turn on my light. See, we do this stuff. We always forget something at the last second. And so I'm better prepared today than I have been in past few weeks. So that's something, even though I forgot to turn on my little ring light there. I actually made coffee on time. I set my phone on do not disturb. I did all of my different things a little bit in advance today. So, um, so what I want to talk about today is resetting, because in June is when I'm starting my debt payoff journey. I tried to prep in May. I did the best I could, but things were still pretty ugly, and they're not much better in June. However, I am in much better. I'm much more organized. It's not that I'm in much better financial shape, but I am much more organized. And I have more income coming in June than I had in May. And I'll have more income coming in July than I have in June. So, and yesterday I got 2 contracts for 2 more classes that start in August. So the money that I'm making now will carry me through August. And then I'll have 2 classes, at least 2, more likely 3, that start in August that will carry me from August through October, November, something like that. And so hopefully we'll have more classes in September, October. So I think for the rest of the year, I should have good money coming in. And I'm also working on, and we're going to get into this with my topic of reset here, is I'm also working on smoothing out my rental income, with my property manager. So I'm working with them to smooth out my rental income. And what that looks like, because we haven't even gotten into our topic yet, and I'm already off on current stories, is, and hi, Christiana. Great to see you. Let's see. CL Fantasy Waves. Thank you for supporting me. And Simply Debbie Sue, super supporters, along with Andy Mon TV and Fairbrick Studio. I tell you, those are 4 people who support a ton of YouTube channels. They do. They just when they become your supporter, and then I'm trying to jump on their bandwagon. And I see them. I see CL Fantasy Waves. I see Fairbrick Studio, Andy Mon TV, and Simply Debbie Sue. I see them everywhere I go. And that's one of the things I say, I know I'm in good company when I go to a live and they're there. So I'm just trying to imitate them. But what I wanted to share real quick, and we're going to get into the topic here, is that I talked to my property management company. This was not my idea. This was an idea of some friends of mine. They said, talk to your property management company and ask them if you have high maintenance expenses, if they can spread them out over the course of a month or 2 so that you're not taking a big hit in 1 month. And I didn't want to ask them because I think it's my problem, it's my properties, it's my money. I should not be asking people for help. Okay, I really shouldn't. But I talked to them and I said, if we have an expense that is over $1,000, can we break that up into 2 months? And they said, absolutely, no problem. And they also said another thing that they could do is if I have a big heavy expense like 1,000, 2,000, whatever dollars, they can just take it from the rent from that one particular property that had that expense. They can just keep the rent from that one property and I can get all my other rents until that amount is paid off. So that right there is a benefit. And I'm sorry that my camera is shaking. I don't know why. It's like my floor is shaking. And so for whatever reason, the camera is shaking here. So Christiana, I'm not sure if you went live earlier this morning because I was in a meeting before this. But if you did, I'm going back and I'm going to watch your replay. And in Treaty with Rhonda, Rhonda Hensley, she goes live on Friday mornings before my live. And so, because I'm in a meeting before my live, I'm going to go back to all my friends and be on the replay this afternoon as soon as my live is over. So, that's what I'm doing. I hope everyone cannot hear the AC unit. I turned it off in this room, but I have it going in another room, plus, I have a fan blowing in here because we're in the 90s down here in South Alabama. And I'm telling you, it's hot. Oh, Wayne is asking me about my watch hours, and I didn't look before I got on the live, so I have no idea. And for me to go look during the live, you guys would watch an old guy puttering around, so I can't go and look for my watch hours. But Wayne, I will send you a message with my watch hours when this is over. I believe I had 1,780 or so last week. I'm hoping that I have more. And as I have more content, then I think that I'll have more watch hours. Now, I could do the thing that some people are doing, which is go live more often. Some people are trying to boost their watch hours by going live more frequently. However, that's not me. I'm not going to be going live daily or have impromptu lives. I may do it if I'm out with my puppy once in a blue moon, out walking my puppy. But I'm just not going to do more lives than this one live a week because I'm busy and I have a life, and I just can't, I just don't have that kind of free time. So, anyway, let's get into this week's thing because I'm not going to go into a bunch of stories. Oh, hi, Marlene. Thank you for coming. Now, Marlene Motivates and Lisa J. Scott are doing a live at 1 o'clock Eastern, I believe, because it's right after my live finishes or 45 minutes after my live finishes. So that's where I'm going to be, is with Lisa J. Stocks and Marlene Motivates. So in their live, I know because I have that in my head that I'm going to that one after mine ends. So what we're talking about today is resetting. Sometimes we need a reset, no matter from different things. Mine are financial resets, of course. Well, with all of those resets, we all need to just take a step back, take a deep breath. I'm changing the way I manage my finances. I'm not spending every penny that comes in. I'm no longer going from crisis to crisis, which is my plan in life, was go from financial crisis to financial crisis. I just handle the next emergency coming. And I've been okay with that. I built wealth doing that, but that is not a good strategy. Let me be the first person to say I did the best I could with the knowledge that I had. That's what I want to share. I'm really worried about why my table is shaking so much today. For some reason, that's throwing me off today. So let's talk about not sabotaging ourselves, because that's what I was doing by going crisis to crisis with my finances. Yes, I could always scrape up the money, and yes, I was blessed that money always came in just before I needed it. And an example of this is I used to get student loans when I was in college, and I was in college for many, many, many years. Well, when the student loan payment would come in, I would be short on making my car payment. So that student loan came in, I made my car payment. The money came in just before I needed it for whatever reason. So I was never late on a car payment, right? Building my credit. And, but consequently, the student loan money was supposed to be for school related items. See, and I take cash flow from my rentals and I pay whatever bill just happens to be coming up. Then I take my teaching income, and if my rentals are short, which they were this month, we'll get into that maybe a little bit later, or maybe I won't even tell you about that because that's embarrassing. But then I use my teaching income if my rental income is short for a given month. So even though I'm doing a financial reset, this does not mean that life is automatically perfect. And so, um, oh, thank you, Debbie Sue. She says the shaking isn't bad. I don't know why. It's just, and maybe it's been shaking every week and I just didn't notice it. That very well could be. I don't know why something seems different. But thank you, Debbie Sue, because I need somebody to calm me down today. For whatever reason, I'm going off on a tangent. Um, so let's talk about the excuses that we all make. And I'll say we all, but some of y'all do finances perfectly. Not me. Okay, but not everybody. But we say I'll start next month. I'm famous for that. Next month is going to be different. Next month I'm going to, take all of my money and not do the wrong thing with it. I used to say that every paycheck. Well, next time I get paid, I'm not going to go out and party like I used to party. And then every time I got a paycheck, I was out partying. See? So that's what I'm saying. Um, one of the excuses, I'll get serious about this one bill, whatever it is, student loan payback or whatever it is, I'm going to get serious about this one bill. Well, I would do that, but then I would neglect another future bill. So let's talk about my reset. My reset is not meaning that everything in my financial life is automatically perfect in the month of June. What I'm realizing is that I am creating categories, and some of these categories are future expenses. Well, I don't have enough money to fund all the future expenses. So I had a meeting with some friends of mine yesterday, and what we came up with is let's prioritize the future expenses that are highest on the list. And that's where we're starting. That's the beginning of our reset. So it's not that your financial life has to be perfect for you to start. The point is start from where you are and do the best you can do with the funds and the income that you have. And so I paid all my bills for this month already, and paid extra on my credit card, which is what I wanted to do. But I still have more income coming in this month. And so, and plus I'm cash flowing a trip that I'm taking towards the end of the month. Could be next week, but not positive yet. I think it's next week. I'm going to be out of town next week, and I've already cash flowed that trip out of my income. But what I want to do is take some of my income that I have still coming in for the rest of this month, and I'm going to split it in thirds. I'm going to give a third to the IRS. I'm going to give a third to my credit card, and I'm going to give a third to my emergency fund. And that's what my friends came up with yesterday. Now, that's not me. I don't think in those terms. One third, one third, one third. I need help. So I consult other people who have done this debt payoff journey before me. And so I encourage you, if you have any friends who can become accountability buddies, anything like that, to help you. You know what I'm going to do next week, because this is just driving me nuts. I'm going to put down something to cushion my microphone. I mean, not my microphone, my ring light. There you go. I think my ring light needs more cushioning. So let's get into this. So have you ever had a bank account and looked at it and said, how did I get here again? With the low amount that you had in your account, how did I get here again? I had money, I had emergency funds, then some emergency came up and wiped out my emergency fund. So the question is, how did I get here again? And for me, I was there over and over again and I went to this real estate meetup last night, and I was telling this guy what I do is I take my lines of credit, I put it as a down payment on a rental property, and then I pay off the line of credit. Well, if I didn't have the cash to put the down payment on the rental property should I have bought the rental property? And my problem is patience. I can't wait until I have the cash to pay for whatever it is that I'm wanting, because I'm not a saver. I'm an investor. I save and invest quite a bit, but I'm not a cash saver. Well, now I am. With that 1/3 that's going to my emergency fund, that begins me being a cash saver. And so I will try and do the same thing next month that I'm doing this month, which is extra on the credit card, because the goal for me is to pay off the credit card first, then hit one of those lines of credit. All the while paying the IRS and building an emergency fund. So that's my strategy and my reset financially. So if you can, put anything in the chat that would be your reset. If it's either just a June reset or if it's a health reset, because I'm happy to share that I am on day 71 of continuous exercise. I have not done that in I can't tell you how many years. But I started in April with the 30-day walking challenge, and I've never stopped. And so anybody that knows me knows I can become obsessed with anything. Well, once I had that 30-day streak of exercising and walking every day for 30 days, I don't want the streak to end. And so I don't care if it's before I go to bed, we are exercising that day, because I get busy. My life gets busy and I just work. And it's so hot outside right now. It's been in the 90s the last couple of days here in Alabama, which could feel like, 100. When that sun gets on you out there, it's brutal. So we are going to keep moving. I hope, and see, I say this I forget to say this every week. Somebody please remind me to stop the poll 5 minutes before the live ends, because I'm so ready to be done with the live. I'm looking at the clock going, whew, just a couple more minutes and I'm out of here. That I forget to read the poll results and stop the poll. See, and so then the live ends and I'm looking over at the chat and I go, oh, now I have to share the poll as a community post. So, yeah, we're trying to get better, but the longer I'm on YouTube, the older I'm getting, right? So the memory starts to go. So yeah, put in the chat if you can, if you've ever found yourself in a place like me with my exercise saying, how did I stop exercising? I haven't exercised in 6 months. How do you get yourself out of that and reset whatever that is? Could be financial, may not be financial. Please hit the like button and please subscribe if you're new here. Also, please type fire. I always forget to say that. Please type fire in the chat and other people can find your channel. Most people are, hi Lisa, I'm going to be at your live after my live. So that's on my agenda. So so let's see. Let me see. Okay, it says here, I will reveal my biggest lie that I told myself, right? That kept me stuck over the years. That biggest lie was, I have a federal government job. I have a job for life. Well, two things with that lie. First of all, I was in the judicial branch, and the judicial branch is not the federal branch or the executive branch of the government. So the rules are different. The judicial branch of the federal government is just like the private sector. You can be let go at will. You're an at-will employee. You are not a guaranteed for life federal government employee like some places in the executive branch. They have to go through hoops of fire to get rid of some people in the executive branch. They have unions. They have rules that they just can't get rid of a person. Not the judicial branch. We're just like the private sector. The other thing is, The federal government has not shut down, well, they have shutdowns, but they have reductions in force across the federal government. Again, the judicial branch does not have to follow what the executive branch does. However, they tend to follow voluntarily what the executive branch is doing. So if they're reducing federal employees in the executive branch, the higher ups in the judicial branch say, we'll do it too. So that was the biggest lie I told myself, was that I had a job for life. So when that reduction in force came, and what they said to me was, yeah, you have a critical job, but we can still reduce your income and still keep you on that critical job. So I had the same critical job for a lot less money. And it was take it or leave it. It wasn't, well, you could fight us on this or you could appeal, or no, it was take it or leave it. And so that was the biggest lie I told myself. And that's how I got into the FIRE movement, was when I realized that one single income, depending on that one federal job, which is what I was doing, was not a good idea. Never depend on a single stream of income. I'm telling you, I am the poster child for them telling you where your food is coming from and how much food you can have. Don't do it. And so I have never had a single stream of income since that time that they did that reduction in force. So let's talk about my financial reset story, right? Why am I all of a sudden now trying to do finances correctly? Now, it's taken me a few months to get myself organized into what I'm starting here in June. Well, because I made big mistakes with the IRS in 2025. That was my wake-up call. A lot of other things, life was just lifing in 2025 for me. Now, having said that, I made all these mistakes with the IRS, and I bought a bunch of real estate in 2025. So I had big income gains, but then I'm messing everything up by not paying the IRS correctly. Well, the IRS will slap you in the face and say, wake up. Trust me on this one. So that was my wake up call, and that was my reset. And so, one, I no longer want to deal with the IRS and their penalties and late fees and trying to. My issue is I scrape up money at the last moment. When the crisis comes, I find a way to scrape up the money. I have always had the money to scrape up. That's not the issue. The issue is I'm getting too old to be living like this. You can't go through life saying, oh, crisis here, let me scrape up the money. Oh, crisis here, let me scrape up the money. And I did this every year. See, in December is when I pay property taxes on my rental properties. And so every December, I don't have any money. So what do? I go to my credit and I scrape up the money and I pay the property taxes. And then over the next month or two, January and February, every year, I'm paying off the tax money that I used from my lines of credit. So that's what I'm saying, is I keep repeating this same behavior annually. Now, it's not just the rental property taxes, right? And my excuse, I always have an excuse, right? Which excuses are no good, but I always have the excuse that I don't make enough in my rentals because I'm fixing them up. I bought lower cost properties, so I'm always fixing them up, getting them, rent ready and doing repairs as renters are in there, that I don't have the cash flow to put aside to save for property taxes. So at the end of the year, I got to come up with all this property tax money, because all during the year, I've been putting the money back into the business. Well, what I'm doing now, and this I tried to start in January, but I'm really, been off and on since January, is I'm putting those property taxes aside in a high yield savings account every month when the rent money comes in. I know this sounds like common sense, to everybody out there watching. But I told myself the lie, I don't have the money. I can't afford to put this money in savings. Well, this year, I've been doing it more than I've ever done it before. And we'll say that so far we're in June, which is month 6, I have done it at least 3 or 4 times. So I'm not perfect at putting that money to the side. Because again, life has been lifing. But to do it 4 out of 6 times so far this year, that's big progress. And that's what finances are. It's progress, not perfection. So, yeah, and Christiana at Well Behaved Wallet is saying, I just don't want to carry any debt. And I am carrying debt. I'm trying to get rid of it. I'm paying it off each month. But what I'm doing, and I'm starting with my credit card. Excuse me again, I have the sniffles because this is allergy season in Alabama. Excuse me. Um, what I'm doing is I'm not debting. That's where I'm starting, and that's my reset, right now, is do not incur more debt. Stop digging the hole. When I get out of this hole, again, I'm going to not incur future debt. See, that's a difference in my mindset. That's a difference in my thinking. And so my shovel to one, get out of debt and build these savings and emergency funds. And my friends were happy that I emptied my emergency funds to pay Alabama taxes. They said, Daryl, that's progress in that you had money in an emergency fund, even though you had to empty it and restart again. You did not put it on credit. You did not go deeper in debt to pay Alabama taxes. And so Christiana is saying that her husband would put off his quarterly payments to the IRS just because their interest was only like 2% versus higher interest debt. And Christiana, that's exactly where I'm at. I was there a couple of days ago. I said, well, my credit card is higher than, the IRS, which I owe these quarterly payments. Well, my friends, they said, Daryl, they charge you not only a penalty each month that you're late in paying your quarterly taxes, but then every quarter they tack on a little extra penalty for not meeting that quarterly payment. So you're getting penalized 3 times, then you're getting penalized a 4th time, then you get penalized. And, I'm putting little bits of money each month towards the IRS because I don't have some big, huge lump sum to give them. I'm paying off 2025 IRS taxes, and I'm giving them extra money in 2026. So I'm doing a double bang thing with the IRS. And because of the pain of this, I don't think I'll ever do this again in the future. See, just like putting aside the money for the property taxes each month, I'm going to start paying the IRS each month in 2027, 2028. And let's look at the positive side of this, right? Which is I'm making money. That's why I owe the IRS. See, I have a business that is now profitable. My rental properties are now profitable. My teaching income is now profitable. And on top of that, I have a pension and Social Security. So I have money coming in. The problem is that I allocated that money incorrectly in the past. And so I just need to have a little bit of discipline. And that's where this whole 71 days of exercising comes in. That started me on the discipline. And then I turned it into my finances. And a third part of my discipline is my teeth. Right? I went to the dentist and they said, you need to do this every single day before you go to bed. Well, I now do it every single day before I go to bed. I also have retainers because I had braces at one point in time. So I put in my retainers every single night now. I am doing multiple different resets in my life that I have not done in a long, long time. And it started with that 30-day April walking challenge. And now here it is June, and I'm actually paying my bills. I am putting money into an emergency savings account, which I've never done before in my life, and I'm paying the IRS. I'm doing the best I can do. It's not enough money. I don't have enough money for everything. I have bills coming up in 6 months that I need to have money for, and the money's not here yet. But if I continue on this path that I'm on, in 6 months or a year from now, that money will all be there. And what I will not do is I will not go deeper in debt this year. That we're just not doing. So I do have emergency break glass funds that I could tap into. And here's my plan, right? Whether or not this changes or we go into something else, is I'm waiting until towards the end of the year when I say, okay, it's time to break the glass. We tried all year and we took in all the income that we could take in to get caught up on things in 2026. And it's now time to break glass and maybe take, like, let's say $10,000 from my emergency break glass fund, right? And get totally caught up so that we start 2027 from zero, from ground zero. But I'm building the discipline over this 6 months so that in January, I have the habit of saving. I have the habit of not debting, not running up my credit card balance, not using my lines of credit. When I pay them off, I will shut them down. I will not give myself access to lines of credit. I will have to have the money in my emergency fund to do whatever it is that I need to do. If I need extra money for whatever reason, right, we'll make something up. Heaven forbid I need a car and I need a down payment for a car. It's got to come out of my emergency fund. I'm not going to go to a line of credit and say, oh, well, I could just transfer this money into my checking account and then walk over to the dealership and say, hey, I've got the money for the down payment. We're not using lines of credit for down payments anymore. Another thing that I have that I'm doing, possibly doing, is I have one rental property where the renters gave 30 days notice, and it's on a loan by itself. And so I am now in talks with a friend of mine who's a realtor about selling that one property. And so that alleviates one mortgage payment. If the property doesn't sell, I'm not in dire financial straits. If it doesn't sell for more than what I owe on it, then I keep it as a rental. But I'm looking at various different options to lower my financial obligations. And over the next few years, I will be lowering my financial obligations with respect to my rental properties and with respect to all of my debt. See, by paying off my lines of credit, that's lowering my financial obligations. By paying off my credit card, that's lowering my financial obligations. That's my pattern for the next few years. And we're just going to keep building and building and building that emergency fund. And some of you know, sometimes we have to tap our emergency fund. It's not a perfect thing where you just keep putting money in and you never, ever, ever touch your emergency fund. Things happen, things come up. So it's not that. And I've already had to tap my emergency fund when it was just beginning, to pay the Alabama state taxes. One of the things that I did was I overpaid the IRS for 2025. And so they're sending me a refund. And my friend said, Daryl, you turn around, you give them right back that money. So as soon as that money hits my account, I'm going to my IRS Direct. I don't know if you know this, but you can set up an account with the IRS where you can transfer money directly from your account into your IRS payment. so that you don't have to write them a check or mail it with a voucher to all these different things. It's all electronic now. It's just like transferring money to your high yield savings account. It's the same thing. Well, I have that set up with the IRS. And every month when I have a little extra money, I transfer it right over to the IRS. So I'm going to transfer money that's intentional to be transferred to the IRS. And I'm also going to transfer any extra, I don't care how much it is, and we're going to talk about this Transfer Tuesday here in just a moment, that, any little bit of money that you can transfer to debt. So if I have any money left over at the end of the month, it goes to the IRS. It could be $50, right? So let's talk about Transfer Tuesday, because I've been going into all these different stories, which I tend to do. But before I get to Transfer Tuesday, this one thing I want to talk about is how to stop self-sabotaging, because that's what I've been doing. All these years, I get myself out of debt and I get back into debt. I worked overseas for some years. I was in Saudi Arabia. I lived on the island of Cyprus. I lived in the south of France. How does that happen? How blessed am I that I came from a homeless shelter and I'm living in Saudi Arabia, having all my expenses paid. I'm living on the island of Cyprus, having all my expenses paid. I'm living in the south of France, having all my expenses paid. How does that happen? Well, I'm very blessed. And so during those times where all my expenses were paid, I took my paycheck and I paid off all my debt. I paid back child support. I may have owed the IRS. I think I did at the time. I paid them everything I owed them. I owed nobody anything. When that job ended, I owed nobody anything. How did I end up in debt again? Self-sabotage. See, no one taught me back then about anything to do with money management. No one taught me back then the lessons I'm learning today. And so that's one of the things I say is, your younger self just didn't know. But now you know. Now we have YouTube. We didn't have YouTube back then. I can learn from so many different people. And one of them is Mary at Pennies Not Perfection. And so let's talk about Transfer Tuesday. And I'm just going to read this little thing about Mary's channel. The Transfer Tuesday movement was started by Mary from Pennies Not Perfection in 2019 as a way to make weekly progress toward debt payoff and financial goals. What began as a personal challenge has grown into a widespread YouTube community with creators across the US and UK making weekly transfers towards debt, savings, investing, and financial independence. Mary credits consistent weekly action, even transfers of amounts that are as little as $5, for helping her pay off tens of thousands in debt. And I watch Mary's channel, and she now has a second home, her and her husband and her family, and they turned their first home into a rental property when they bought their second home. And she is trying to pay off that mortgage. And so you'll hear YouTube creators, and you could do this. You could search on YouTube for Transfer Tuesday, and you will see a ton of YouTube creators doing Transfer Tuesday. People with a lot of money do Transfer Tuesdays. My friend Kathy at the Cronson family, they're debt-free. They did it by doing Transfer Tuesdays. And they have a very high income, her and her husband. There are other people who have a very low income, and they are doing Transfer Tuesdays. And so me, with my income, I am trying to do Transfer Tuesdays, but I transfer anytime any money comes in. And with me, I have money that comes in at various different intervals. I have monthly money that comes in. I have weekly money that comes in. So for me, every week now in June, July, August, I will be transferring money weekly. And while it feels good, it's not a ton of money each week, but every single week there's money coming in. So every single week there's a debt that needs to be contributed to. So think about Transfer Tuesday. And also think about the name of Mary's channel, which is Pennies Not Perfection. It doesn't matter how little you put towards your debt or paying off your credit card or towards savings or towards investments. And Lisa J. Stocks talks about that on her channel about stock investing. You could buy fractional shares. So it's not just about paying off debt. It's not just about building an emergency fund. You can use Transfer Tuesday anywhere in your financial journey. If you're saving for financial independence, which I really encourage everyone to do a little bit at a time. Do as much as you can until you can do more. And that's what I do. When I was working, when I had a full-time job, I guess, with the federal government, I was increasing the amount that I put into my government 401k until I maxed it out. In the last 3 years that I worked for the federal government, I maxed it out all 3 years. Well, when the stock market was doing good, that really helped me to grow my retirement account. When I retired, I did not have one of those huge $1 million retirement accounts. I only had $300,000. But because I'm so frugal, that was plenty of money for me to live on. And because I've learned that those frugal habits, the amount of money that I have coming in each month, which of course, I'm going to share at my end of month budget update or monthly spending update, whatever we want to call it, I'm going to show you how I live on very little of the amount of money that I have coming in, which is good in my situation because it allows me to really hammer on the debt and really build up the emergency fund. If I spent most of my money that came in, I would be years and years and years paying off this debt. Well, I want it all paid off by the end of this year. I don't know if that's possible, but I set aggressive savings, investment, and debt payoff goals. I am very aggressive. I was aggressive about buying real estate. Lisa J. Stock says I'm aggressive about my investing. And so I am, but I'm aggressive about exercising every day. I'm aggressive about my teeth routine that I do every night. I follow the hygienist instructions. She said, you'll do this, then you'll do this, then you'll do this. And every single night, I do this, and I do this. Then I put my retainers in, and then I go to bed. So, and if you've ever had braces, then you know about your retainers. Hi, Mrs. G. Mrs. G, I have to tell you, because you're on my live, I'm looking for you to go live consistently. I have an alarm in my phone for you, I think on Thursdays, and I keep looking for you. Just so you know, I'm calling you out, Mrs. G, that I'm looking for you. I have an alarm in my phone because that's what I do. I am a creature of routine. And so if I'm routinely putting money into my emergency fund will build. So become a person of routine with your Transfer Tuesdays. A lot of people on YouTube have paid off a lot of debt by putting $5 every Tuesday towards their debt, $3.50 towards their mortgage. And everyone's, oh, well, that's just a tiny amount of money. That doesn't make a difference. It makes a difference over time. And it's that muscle that you're building that makes the difference. And so this month is my financial reset. This month, I am building the muscle. It's ugly. It doesn't look good. because I don't have enough money to cover everything. And that makes a lot of people want to quit. Well, how am I going to get out of all of this debt if I don't have enough money? Well, I have enough money for the debt for this month. What I'm saying is, I don't have enough money to fund future expenses that are coming. I will, so I can't give up. I have to keep fighting. I was telling my friend yesterday, I said, the pain of going through this fight right now, of paying down this debt and putting money to the side, is the reason I won't do this again. I said, I need to go through this pain that I'm going through right now so that I don't do this again. So people, hi, Jen. It's Easy Street with Jen is here. Thank you so much, Jen, for coming. Um, Jen and her husband, Chris, I met them in April. They are like my mentors. I think of them when I think of how do you do money correctly, right? There's a lot of people here on YouTube that I use as my unofficial mentors. See, that's what I do. See, they don't have to say they'll be my mentor. I just adopt them as my unofficial mentor. Like, um, excuse me. Boy, I didn't know that cough was coming. And we are actually going to, I hope, remember to, Jen, you and Chris know. I mean, when I talked to you guys when I was at your house, you guys know. Um, when I think of, okay, Daryl, it's time to allocate this little bit of money towards the IRS, I think about Chris and Jen. They just do money right, just the way it is. And, I'm not like jealous of people who do money right. What I want to do is I just want to be like them. There were real estate investors who bought real estate right. They invested a lot of money and they made millions. And I said, I just want to be like them, and I'll never own as many properties as they own, like 100, 200. I'll never own anything like that. Matter of fact, I'm sort of done buying rental properties. But the point is, they were my unofficial mentors. And I tried to follow what they said. And one of the things that they taught me was you take your side hustle income and you invest your side hustle income into your future business. And you live off of your regular 9 to 5 income. And so that's what I did was I took my teaching income and I invested that in fixing up my rental properties. And now, 6 years later, those rental properties are becoming profitable and they're starting to carry themselves and they're starting to pay me. Now, having said that, they did not pay me in June. So let's be truthful about rental properties. I had a lot of expenses, maintenance expenses, in the month of June, actually in the month of May. So therefore, in the month of June, there was no cash flow. And that happens in the rental business. The good thing is that the money that did come in covered all of my mortgages, all of my insurance costs, and paid a couple of other extra mortgages that I have. But there was no cash flow in the month of June. So I have my teaching income, I have my pension, I have my Social Security. All of those are covering everything. My rentals pay for themselves. They do not cost me any money. Most months, they are starting to pay me money. And if I start averaging $2,000 a month of cash flow, that's after everything's paid, I would be happy with that for now. Someday I want $5,000 a month in cash flow. But I'll settle for $2,000 a month on top of my teaching income, pension, and Social Security. And where would that extra $2,000 go? To the IRS. So these are all the things that I'm doing, right? And so Please type fire. Make sure you type fire in the. Jen, you are not a mod on my channel. Don't know how that happened. Hold on. Everybody, I'm taking an old guy break to make a moderator here, which I don't do very often, but most people on my channel are moderators. And so, but please type fire in the chat so that other people can come to your channel. And if you like gardening, cooking, just all sorts of things, Easy Street with Jen does all that. And she has this trivia night where she does music trivia. If you're good with songs and you can pick songs that have a certain name in the title, that's a good live that she does. Me, I can't do any of those. I haven't gotten a single answer correctly ever. Okay? So, anyway, that's just me. I just can't remember the names of songs. Unless it's a country music song, because I've been listening to those for a lot of years. And I know country music songs from the 80s. I know those names, right? Maybe. And I may know the artist, maybe. Now, I'll know every word to the song, but I don't know the artist's name and I don't know the title of the song. I just know all the words to the song. Let's get back to financial content here because I'm getting off on my love of country music. So, with the Transfer Tuesday, now I may have a Transfer Friday. I get paid on a Thursday from one college and then the following Friday from another college. And as you all know, I'm down to 2 colleges now. However, these are 2 of my best colleges. They give me consistent work and they pay better than all the other colleges that I no longer work for. So I have my 2 best. And with one of them, I'm able to teach in their graduate school, which pays even better than their undergraduate pay in the undergraduate school. In the other college, I'm just in the undergraduate school. However, that college does like most colleges don't do with adjuncts, is that they give you a pay raise. Most colleges, people don't know this, most colleges, if you're an adjunct professor, you never get a pay raise. Whatever you were making 10 years ago, that's the same thing they're paying you now. Now, the deal is we all know this and we all accept this. So people have 5 colleges, 6 colleges. They stack this income because it's not going to change. Well, I have one college where it does change. And depending on sort of how many years you've been there or how many classes you've taught for them, which basically adds up to how many years you've been there, you keep getting pay raises. I am near the tip top of their pay scale because I've been there for 15 years. So I am making very good money at that college. So I will keep that college as long as they'll keep me. And they're consistent, right? When Obamacare came in, most of the colleges cut back on hours for adjuncts so that they would not have to provide them health care. So what happens is I can only teach so many courses per year. Otherwise, they would have to give me health care. So this college that pays me the most money gives me consistently 6 courses a year. Consistently. And so I can count on that money. The other college, which pays me really well and keeps me really busy, there's no guarantee on how many courses they'll give me. They have been very good to me. And they will just pop up a course and say, Daryl, we have a course starting next month. Would you like it? And yes, I would. So they give me pop-up courses where it's money that just starts coming in that I was not expecting. So I'm in a very good position as far as the colleges go for the rest of the year. And like I said, I was just yesterday given 2 classes that start in August. I was not expecting that. That wasn't in my schedule at the college of future classes that they planned to give me. Just showed up. And that's why I check my email at the college every day. I'm checking for the surprise blessing of here's a contract, Daryl, out of nowhere. Here's a contract. Do you want to teach these classes? I'm telling you, I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. And so this is what I'm saying is I have income for the rest of this year. All of that income, I'm practicing that savings muscle starting here in June. So this is my great reset. And my friends that I met with yesterday, I told them, let's meet in 3 months so that I can show you the progress that I've made in 3 months. And if you weren't here at the beginning, I'm going to talk again about I'm on day 71 of my walking exercise challenge, right? So in 3 months, I'll have 90 more days of walking or exercising every single day. More muscle building. I'm building savings muscles. I'm building my debt payoff muscle. I'm building my teeth care routine muscle. My life is, I feel my life is hitting on all cylinders right now. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Do I have enough money to pay for all future upcoming expenses? Absolutely not. But I paid for everything this month, and I'm putting a little extra to the side to cover future expenses. And I'm putting a little bit extra to pay down the IRS. I am doing the best I can do. And that's all I ask anybody that ever watches my channel is just start from where you are. High income, low income, you have children, you don't have children, you're retired early, you're not retired. Wherever your situation is, be like me, the turtle. Do it slow, but do it. See, I'm changing my financial life little by slow, but I'm doing it. It's ugly. I get upset with myself. Well, Daryl, how come you don't have more money? And how come you don't have this perfect financial life? It's getting better. That's all I can say. Is every single month, my life is getting better. I'm already way beyond blessed with the stuff that I have. Okay? Way beyond anything I ever could have dreamed of with the stuff I have. And it's getting better. I am still, at my age, chasing my dreams. You're never too old to continue chasing future dreams. And being debt free again is another one of my future dreams. One of my just more immediate dreams is just don't debt. Do not increase the debt. I want you all to see. Now, see, it got so hot here that the AC has come on here in the room that I'm in. I had it so that the AC wouldn't come on, but we only have 3 minutes left, so we're just going to have to put up with the noise with this AC in my room. I thought I could get through the hour without it heating up so much here in Alabama that it would turn on the AC in this room. But we didn't even make it an hour because it's 90 something degrees out there. Let me check. Right now on my computer, it's saying 87. So I am actually going to stop the poll. Unbelievable, right? Daryl's hitting on all cylinders where he actually remembers to stop the poll before the live ends, right? And I think I've done that once or twice in all this time that I've been doing lives. This may be my third time ever remembering to stop the poll before the live ends. So I tell you, I am something. I am something there. So let's see. I'm clicking on it, and why isn't it? There we go. So we're going to end the poll and get the results, which are, let's see, there we go. Okay, so the question is, have you ever delayed a financial goal because a big change was needed instead of a small one? See, and that's where I give up. I go, oh, well, I'll never be able to pay the IRS. Well, I just won't pay them anything. I'll just take the hit at the end of this year. Well, that wasn't such a smart idea in 2025. Okay? And that came back to bite me in 2026. So we are not having that in 2027. That's not coming into 2027 with me. So 74% said yes, 26% said no. I want to be like that 26%. I'm in that 74%. So I've done finances well, I guess, and it wasn't perfectly. I didn't do them correctly. What I'm saying is I've had a good result from the chaotic way that I managed money in the past. It was nothing but chaos. And I was blessed to have money come in to save me from my own poor choices throughout all those years. That is not a financial strategy. Having, just the universe come in and save you. Okay? That is not a financial strategy. I am trying to do it correctly, like most of you already do. I know. I know most of you. Most of you already, you have your house paid off and you got this and you got that. Okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. I lived in chaos because that's all I knew. Now I know better. Now I'm doing better. So when you know better, you do better. And this is my June reset. We're starting. I am doing June correctly. I will do July correctly. Will I do it perfectly? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I needed help from friends to tell me, Daryl, put 1/3 here, put 1/3 here, put 1/3 there. Because I can't do this alone. So that brings me to the point before I close here is I am looking for accountability buddies. So some of you I've emailed, and some of you have my email, but my email is in the channel description. Please email me if you would like to be an accountability buddy with me and just somebody I can check in and say, here's what I'm doing this month to pay down debt or to build in my emergency fund or to pay the IRS a little bit extra. So, I'm just trying to have as many people as possible watching over me so I'm not out there on my own and I could just say, well, nobody will know if I do this one wrong financial thing. Nobody will know. That's what gets me in trouble, is that nobody will know. Well, I want my community to hold me accountable to doing better financially so that I have an even better financial future. Yes, I'm financially free, but I need a better financial, debt free, financially free future. That's where I'm headed. That's where I'm headed, is debt free in 5 years. And we're talking paying off mortgages on rental properties. This is much bigger than just paying the IRS. This is much bigger than just not debting. I want to start paying off rental properties so that I increase my monthly cash flow, which will allow me to invest more money, which will allow me to travel the way I want to travel in the future. So I'm heading for an even better life than what I have today. So that's what I want you all on that journey with me. It's ugly right now, but 5 years from now, I'll be happy that I started. And so it's the same thing with investing. If you invest now, 5 years from now, you'll be happy that you invested today. So let's plant the tree today and watch that tree grow over the next 5 years and 10 years. Let's all do this together. So thank you all. I have gone over my time. I'm always 3 minutes over. So I hope that everybody has put fire in the chat. And I'm going to say goodbye and get off of here because Lisa J. Stocks and Marlene Motivates is coming on in 40 minutes. And so I intend to be in their live in 40 minutes. So, because y'all know I never miss Lisa J. Stocks. She puts out great info and she talks about, which I love, is putting money away for your children, starting your children on a path towards wealth, which I didn't do. But I love that she's doing that for her daughter. So I will say goodbye. I will see you all next week. Next week, I think I'll be coming from a hotel room because I'll be traveling and it'll be the day before I get on the plane or the morning of that I get on the plane. So I'll still be at this particular time, Central Time, but because I'll be on the West Coast, I'll be on here 2 hours earlier. But you guys come same time next week. See y'all next week, same time. and we'll find a topic. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about next week. And Entreaty with Rhonda is here. Thank you for coming in, Entreaty with Rhonda Hensley. I talked about your live earlier this morning, that you probably had one. I just didn't see it because I was in a meeting. But I will see you all next week from a hotel on the west coast of the United States. All right, bye everybody. Thank you all, and please become my accountability buddy. Email me. My email is in my channel description. So please email me. I need all the accountability I can have. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye everybody.